Picture this. It's the end of the month. You open your banking app, maybe with one eye closed, the way people do when they already know the answer isn't going to be pretty. And there it is, less than you expected. Again. And the weird thing is, you actually made decent money this month. You didn't go on vacation, you didn't do anything crazy, but somehow the money just dissolved. And you're sitting there thinking, where did it go? What is wrong with me? Here's what I want you to hear right now. Nothing is wrong with you, but something is happening inside your brain that nobody ever explained to you. And once I walk you through it, I promise the way you see your own financial life is going to shift in a way that actually sticks. Hi, I'm Tom, and today we're talking about why your brain is literally wired to keep you broke and what you can actually do about it. Most financial advice starts in the wrong place. It assumes the problem is information, that if you just knew the right budgeting system, the right investment strategy, the right savings percentage, you'd be fine. And so we get flooded with spreadsheets and apps and 30-day challenges, and most people try them, feel good for about 2 weeks, and then slowly drift back to exactly where they started. And then they blame themselves. They think they're lazy or undisciplined or just bad with money. And that shame is actually part of what keeps the cycle going. But here's what the research tells us, and this is the part that changed things for me. Your financial behavior isn't primarily driven by logic. It's driven by psychology, by emotion, by the way your brain evolved thousands of years ago to survive a completely different world. You're not failing at money because you're weak. You're failing at money because you're human, and your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that what it was designed to do doesn't always serve you in a modern financial world. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with something called present bias. Your brain has a deeply embedded preference for right now over later. And I mean deeply embedded. This goes back to our ancestors, who lived in an environment where the future was genuinely uncertain. If you found food, you ate it, because if you didn't, something else would. Saving for tomorrow wasn't wisdom, it was a gamble. That ancient wiring is still inside you, and it shows up constantly. It's why the idea of investing $200 a month for 30 years feels kind of abstract and dull, but spending that same $200 on something you can enjoy this weekend feels completely reasonable. The future reward is real, but your brain doesn't feel it as real. The present reward, that it feels very clearly. This isn't a character flaw, it's literally neuroscience. Studies show that when people think about their future selves, the same parts of the brain activate as when they think about a stranger, which means on some neurological level, you're not saving money for yourself, you're saving it for someone you don't even know. And your brain is not going to naturally prioritize a stranger over your own present experience. That's present bias, and it's working on you every single day. Then there's something called loss aversion. The psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, who basically invented behavioral economics, discovered that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. So losing $50 hurts about twice as much as winning $50 feels good. Think about what this does to your financial decisions. It means you'll hold on to a bad investment way too long because selling it makes the loss feel real and permanent. It means you'll avoid starting an emergency fund because putting money away feels like losing access to it, even though it's still yours. It means risk feels terrifying even when the math says it's completely reasonable. This is why people leave their savings in a regular bank account earning basically nothing, rather than moving it somewhere with better returns. The act of moving money, the uncertainty that involves, however small, triggers that loss aversion. So you stay still, and staying still feels safe. But financially speaking, staying still is often its own kind of slow loss. And then there's what I'd call the lifestyle inflation trap. This one's sneaky because it feels like success when it's happening. You get a raise, you buy a nicer car, you move to a better apartment, you upgrade your phone, your wardrobe, your gym membership. each individual upgrade feels completely justified because you earned it, and that's not wrong. But what quietly happens is that your spending grows to match and sometimes exceed every income increase. So the raise you got never actually improved your financial position, it just upgraded your baseline, and now you need another raise just to maintain this new normal. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. You keep walking, keep working, keep earning, but your level of satisfaction stays roughly the same because your expectations rise in lockstep with your income. The treadmill moves faster, but you don't go anywhere. And here's the one that might hit closest to home: social comparison. Human beings are tribal creatures. We evolved in small groups where your social standing within that group genuinely mattered for survival. And so we are hardwired, not metaphorically, actually hardwired, to pay attention to what other people have, to compare, to want to match or exceed the people around us. And in 2026, you're not just comparing yourself to your neighbors, you're comparing yourself to a curated feed of the most aspirational version of hundreds of thousands of people's lives. Someone's always on a better vacation, someone's always in a nicer house, someone's always driving something that makes your car feel suddenly inadequate. And that comparison quietly shapes your spending in ways you don't even notice. You make purchases not because you deeply wanted the thing, but because owning it made you feel like you were keeping up, like you were okay, like you belonged. None of this is vanity, it's biology, but the financial cost of it is very real. So here's the shift that I want to offer you, and it's not a hack or a trick, it's something deeper. When you understand that your financial behavior is largely driven by these psychological forces, you stop seeing money management as a willpower problem, and you start seeing it as a design problem. Willpower is exhausting because it requires you to fight against your own brain constantly, and you cannot win that war through sheer force of character. Nobody can, not long term. But design is different. Design means you set things up so that the easy thing and the right thing are the same thing. You stop relying on yourself to make the right decision in the moment, because in the moment, your ancient brain is often going to win. And once you see it that way, money stops being a moral issue, something you're either good or bad at, and starts being a systems issue, something you can actually fix without hating yourself. Here's what this looks like in practice. The first thing, and I say this because the research on it is almost embarrassingly strong, is automation. If you have to consciously decide every month to save money, you will sometimes decide not to. That's just human. But if that money moves automatically before you ever see it, your brain accepts the new baseline as normal within a few months. It adapts, and you don't feel the loss in the same way because it was never in the account you spend from in the first place. Even if it's $50 a month to start, the amount matters less than the habit of it becoming invisible. The second thing is to create distance between impulse and purchase. Because of present bias, the moment you feel the pull to buy something, your brain is at its most persuasive. So the simple act of adding a 48-hour rule for any non-essential purchase over a certain amount, whatever that threshold is for you, changes the equation. You're not saying no, you're just saying not yet. And what you'll find is that a surprising number of those things stop feeling urgent after 48 hours. The craving was real in the moment, but it wasn't deep. The third thing is reframing what future money means to you personally. Remember how I said your brain treats your future self like a stranger? One way behavioral researchers have found to counteract this is to make that future self feel more real and more you. That might mean thinking concretely about what financial security at 55 or 60 actually looks like for your life, not in an abstract retirement savings way, but in a specific emotional sensory way. What would your mornings feel like? What stress would be gone? What would you be able to say yes to?
When the future becomes emotionally vivid instead of abstractly logical, it starts competing more fairly with the present. And finally, audit your environment, not just your spending. Who are you spending time with? What apps are you scrolling? What newsletters are you subscribed to? Because so much of our financial behavior is shaped by what we're constantly exposed to. Not because we're weak, but because that's how human brains work. We absorb and mirror the norms of our social environment. If everyone around you, physically or digitally, normalizes a certain level of consumption, that becomes your unconscious baseline. This isn't about cutting off friends or becoming a minimalist monk. It's about being intentional about what signals you're letting in, because those signals quietly write the story of what feels normal.
I want to leave you with something that I genuinely believe, not because it sounds nice, but because the evidence supports it. The fact that you watched this video, that you're even curious about why you make the choices you make, puts you in a different category for most people. Most people never question the story their brain is telling them about money. They just keep living it. You're starting to question yours, and that's not a small thing. You don't need to overhaul your entire financial life this weekend. You don't need to be perfect. Financial peace isn't built in a moment of intense motivation. It's built in small, consistent, almost boring decisions made over years by someone who understood themselves well enough not to fight their psychology, but to work gently around it. Your brain isn't your enemy. It's just an old system running in a new world. And now that you can see the code a little more clearly, you can write a slightly better story. That's all this ever is, a slightly better story, written one decision at a time. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.